What's up and welcome back to Bardown Talking Hockey episode number 183, presented by the Barroom Network. It is the home of everything relating to the greatest sport in the world, the sport of hockey. My name is Vinny Parisi, and I still believing the New Jersey Devils can win the Stanley Cup. And this right here, this is Frankie Mueller, and he is the king of all beans. Frank, new hat?
New hat.
Very
You
nice.
like it?
I love it, actually.
You know where it's from?
I do not.
That's the 2024 draft hat.
Oh, it is. Okay, yeah, I could see it now. Yeah.
Yeah. New year, new hat, new me, new show. I'm excited.
What year is it?
2025.
Ooh. If I think there was a chance, like if you asked me, I might have just blurted 2024 just out of pure that's why I did it to you, because I was like, I wonder if that's clicked yet. Hasn't clicked for me
Well, I remember in school, and
it was the
when we went to
worst.
New Year, and you'd have to write your name and date on the paper. I would always, for at least a week, write last year's date.
Yeah.
Always.
Always.
It took a while for it to click.
It doesn't change in the adult, like in the working world either, like at all. At all.
Because you're so used to writing it for how many months of school, 4 or 5 months before the new year, and then it's a tough change. It's a tough change.
Yeah. You can even go back further to the previous grade.
Yeah.
Like from February, March, April, May, June, 3 months of summer where your brain goes to shit anyway, and then you return in the fall and you're still doing that date, and then all of a sudden January comes and you're like, oh.
It's also the year of the snake.
Oh, it is the year of the snake, eh? I did not know that. I do like knowing what it was. I believe I was born in the year of the dog. Do you happen to know yours offhand?
Yeah, the tiger.
Nice. You got the eye of the tiger.
I like that. I like being the year of the tiger. Now, I'm not very familiar with all these years and what makes them. Why is it the year of the snake this year, the year of the tiger I was born? But I assume they repeat eventually.
I think there's like 9 or 10 of them, and then they eventually recycle, yes. Well, you know what, Frank? That'll be our assignment for our next show. We'll have a little more knowledge on the Chinese New Year, because that's got to be coming up shortly. I know it's not in line with the Mayan New Year that we follow, but I know it's coming up. I think it's maybe like late January, early February. We'll get on that. I'm curious. I like knowing.
Year of the snake.
Year of the snake. Well, Frank, it's also the year of the Great Eight, amongst many other hockey stories, and we will get to that in period number 1. Frank, before we get into anything, I think it's fair that we discuss what happened at Wrigley Field in the 2024, 2025. I never really wrote in any articles or any social media posts what year it was for the Winter Classic, because technically there were 2 Winter Classics in 2024, and I don't know how we're doing it going forward. If it's on New Year's Eve next year, we'll find out very soon, I assume. A little birdie told me it's going to be one of the 2 Florida teams hosting it, and then the other is going to host a stadium series. But that is the way it was, Frank. The St. Louis Blues came to Chicago and absolutely mollywalked, or as Connor Bedard would say, dog walked the Chicago Blackhawks 6-2 at Wrigley Field in the Winter Classic. What is your overall thoughts on the game? I'm sure the broadcast was wonderful. I haven't gone back and watched the broadcast yet, but there are things to like about the Winter Classic because it was the Winter Classic. What's your overall sentiment on the events of Tuesday?
It was a special one for me, for sure. I love this team so damn much that I just wanted to be good again. So I got choked up pregame. I thought the pregame ceremony was great. I love seeing the Blackhawks alum make their return. The jerseys were unreal. Being at Wrigley Field, always a classic. The second time that Wrigley's hosted a Winter Classic. The only part that sucked was that they got the doors blown off them. I thought maybe this was the chance to finally end their Winter Classic losing streak. But nope, 0-5 it is. They played like crap. Taylor Hall and Bertuzzi getting the only goals for the Hawks. Mrazek, he already started before this Winter Classic. He already started 2 previous outdoor games. So I get the decision to give him the nod in net has to do with being a veteran, right? You get that veteran respect to start the Winter Classic. Especially, when the team stinks and you're not fighting for a playoff spot. You don't go with the better goaltender. But he already had his outdoor fun. I was hoping they'd give the start to Soderblom and let the kid have some fun. I mean, the game doesn't really mean anything for the Hawks. It was their Super Bowl. It was their having fun moment. It was their biggest game of the year. So I thought they should have maybe gave it to Soderblom. I mean, I personally would. It's one thing if Mrazek never had the chance to start an outdoor game, but I don't know. I do want to give a shout out though to the Buffalo Sabres for allowing the Blackhawks not to be the worst team ever to play in a Winter Classic. Thank you, 2018 Buffalo Sabres. That team was rough. Um,
I get it because their coach is rough, Lindy Ruff.
that wasn't intentional, but yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, it was very fun to watch. I hated the outcome. I was pissed, when it was 2-0. When it was 2-1, I was like, all right, maybe they're in this, but then it just went downhill. We're kind of used to that from the Hawks later in the games, but it was a very fun moment. I'll always enjoy it. Like I said, I got choked up, man. I love this team a lot, and I just want them to be good. I want them to win an outdoor Winter Classic game.
Yeah, I mean, 0-5 in Winter Classics, 1-6 in outdoor games. It was a brutal performance. It was so bad. So the Cubs in the locker room, I guess the clubhouse, have these like sick neon blue lights that are dividers for the stalls. They got their shit canned so bad that Kyle Davidson came in and turned them off. So when I got to go in there, I didn't get to see the cool blue neon lights. So that pissed me off. I walk into the locker room after the game, and Taylor Hall was one of the. I actually, it was interesting. After the games at the United Center, the crowd of people in the scrum go from one player to the next, like
Yeah.
all together. At the Winter Classic, it was 5 guys all sitting around, and you could go choose any one of them and go stand around whoever you wanted. They were all talking at the same time. Well, the Connor Bedard had 50 billion people surrounding him, and so did Nick Foligno. And so, the New Jersey Devils fan in me was like, I'm going to go to Halsey. Like, of course I'm going to go to Halsey. I went to Hall. He had like 4 people surrounding him. I was one of 4. He looks up and goes, I can't believe we played that. Or I forget what his exact line was. I could find it in a tweet that I wrote, but it was something along the lines of like, I'm dumbfounded by how we played. Like, he almost was in tears. And it's just a reflection of a very bad performance. They've been getting pummeled basically since the holiday break. I thought going into the holiday break, so they had that 3-game winning streak, the first 3-game winning streak since Patrick Kane was on the team. And then you lost to Minnesota, but it was like a close game. And then the last game before Christmas, you barely lost to Calgary. That was a close game too. And they kind of had a little comeback at the end. Big third period for Bertuzzi. And then, like, what did you do over the holiday break that since then you have been blown out by Buffalo? Not a good team. Dallas, a good team. But, like, you've played them well this year. You had a chance to tie the season series. Every team would have won the home game in that case. And the St. Louis Blues, who are like a mid team. They might crack the second wild card. They might miss by a couple points. The Blues have actually been better this year than I thought they were going to be. But I was just mystified by the way that they played. I couldn't believe it. The pageantry was outstanding, like you said. Frank, during the game, they announced the quarter century team for the Blackhawks, and they did the Blackhawks and the Blues. So there's 32 teams in the NHL. There's 30 days in January. If you announce 2 on New Year's Eve, you can do 1 a day and every day in January. For the Blackhawks, for the first team, it was Jonathan Toews, Patrick Kane, Patrick Sharp, Duncan Keith, Brent Seabrook, and Corey Crawford. And the second team was Marian Hossa, Brandon Saad, Alex DeBrincat, Brian Campbell, Nicholas Yalmerson, and Jocelyn Thibault. What about those rosters do you think I absolutely had a huge problem with?
I wonder if I could pull them up to get a visual. I want a visual. So bear with me for a sec. VP had a problem with something.
I have a major problem with something, actually.
Yeah, let's see.
There's one thing that they did with these teams that I am just absolutely flabbergasted about. Where, like, if they were my number 1 team, I'm still kind of mad.
Well,
just as someone who covers the team.
I'm going to guess it has to do with the second team. Maybe.
It has to do with both.
Really?
Yeah.
I like the first team. I think the first team's great.
I mean, no disrespect to the one individual here.
Are you thinking Patrick Sharp being on the forward for team one?
Instead of,
Well, let's see. You wouldn't have Shaw over him.
no, this person is there.
Bedard?
No, I can't believe, Frank, that they put Patrick Sharp on the first team and Marian
Oh,
Hossa on the
oh,
second team.
oh,
That is
oh,
the dumbest thing. And this was voted on by like peers. I
I
didn't get
agree.
I didn't get to
I
vote.
agree.
I didn't get to vote. I wasn't asked, but it was like a bunch of people that I sit around, and I can't wait to go ask them how that they allowed this to happen. Patrick Sharp was outstanding. He was as good of a 25-30 goal scorer as there was in the NHL. Marian Hossa is a Hall of Famer. He is one of the best players to play in the NHL ever. He's the greatest two-way winger I've ever seen. Most of the guys with his two-way prowess are just centers. He's the greatest two-way winger I've ever seen. He was Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews mixed together. He could have 100 points. He was basically Pavel Datsyuk on the wing, or Nico Hischier on the wing, or even Jonathan Toews on the wing with Patrick Kane's hands. I can't believe that they put Marian Hossa on the second team and Patrick Sharp on the first team. Sharp absolutely deserves his flowers. When did Sharp ever have more than like 70 points? He was a good goal scorer. He was the sharpshooter. That's what his last name was perfect for the type of player he was. He was the sharpshooter. Marian Hossa was so much more than just a pure goal scorer, and it's dumbfounding. They don't win a single cup without him. I think if you take any good, really good, above average 30 goal scorer and replace them with Patrick Sharp, they still win 3 Stanley Cups. There is nobody in the league that they could have replaced with Marian Hossa and had the same amount of success. None. Nobody. The closest to him in today's game is Mark Stone, I guess. And Mark Stone has won the Stanley Cup, and he's been in Selke conversations. I'm just dumbfounded by it.
I agree. They should add Marian Hossa on the first team. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. I am just sometimes I wonder what are people thinking when they vote on this stuff. And again, no disrespect to Patrick Sharp. He was the sharpshooter. He was great. They needed a big goal. He provided it often. But Marian Hossa, you put him and Toews out there against the other team's top line, they weren't able to do crap. The other team was basically nerfed if those two guys were on the ice together at the same time. Maybe I put a lot of extra. I do put a lot of extra emphasis on defending, and maybe that's the Devils fan in me because everything with the Devils throughout their history has been defending, not offense. But until Jack Hughes came along. But for the most part, I don't really even think it's debatable. To be honest with you, I question how this happened. I really want to know how this happened.
Other than that, I think they nailed the players.
100%.
I mean, what a good group of 12 guys, huh?
Yeah. I had a conversation with our pal Joey. He was ripping on Jocelyn Thibault being the goalie over a Ray Emery or a Antony. Thibault was real good.
Yeah.
And Zach Parisi's first career NHL goal was against Jocelyn Thibault.
Oh, was it really?
So he has a special place in my heart for propelling.
He was a great goalie.
Oh, he was outstanding.
I don't hate it at all. None of the players. I love the teams that they chose. But I agree, Marian Hossa should have probably been on team number 1. Yeah.
Frank, if you were to make an NHL All-Star team from the 2000s to 2025, and you gave 4 lines of forwards, 3 pairs of defensemen, and 2 goalies, Marian Hossa would make that team. Without a single, the Hawks would have 5 players that make that team. Sharp is not one of them. I mean, we're talking Crosby, Ovechkin, Malkin, and I think Marian Hossa is on a 4th line on an all NHL team from 2000 to 2025, and he's on the Blackhawks second team. That is that's crazy to me.
Because Marian Hossa did it all. He did it all.
100%.
He scored more than Sharp, but he also defensively was outstanding on the penalty kill too. He was the active leader in shorthanded goals when he was playing.
Yeah.
He was a great
I
penalty
mean,
killer. He was just amazing all around.
he was a slightly lesser version of Bergeron playing the wing.
Yeah.
And he's on the second team over Sharp. And Sharp wasn't bad defensively either. He wasn't a stalwart, but like he was responsible. But what made Patrick Sharp great and a massive part of 3 Stanley Cup champions was that if he's on the ice, he had like this rare ability to like find open spaces. And if he was on a line with a Patrick Kane, or even there were times where he was on a line with Taves, where if those guys found Sharp in those high danger shooting areas, he was able to bury it with the best of them. That's why they called him the sharpshooter. But Marian Hossa, he almost didn't need to find that brilliant open space all the time to score goals because he was just so good and so smart. And that was the only part about the Winter Classic that annoyed me. I'm like, I can't believe that.
The thing I loved about Marian Hossa the most, too, is when he got on a breakaway, he winded up for a slap shot. There was no deking. There was nothing fancy.
Yep.
He ripped it, and it worked. That's what I loved about him. Like, he was so unique.
He really was. Again, wingers that are like defensive, maybe Mitch Marner, too. Kind of in that same vein, but I think Mitch Marner's a little more shifty than Hossa was. But like the defensive winger that can put up 100 points, like same type of deal with Marner. Tomas Hertl is like a diet version of those guys, I guess you could say, when he's healthy. But yeah, I don't really think there's anybody in the league other than Mark Stone that's quite like Marian Hossa, and it's crazy to me that they put him out. It like bothered me more than it should have as like a hockey nerd. During the Winter Classic, I'm sitting there like pouting about it during the third period while the Hawks are getting killed by St. Louis. Then it got me thinking about what the Devils teams are going to look like. We can go over that in the next show. But Frank, overall, poor Winter Classic performance by the Blackhawks. Outstanding visually. I think it was a top 3 dressed Winter Classic in terms of the field, the operation, the way both teams look. People crapped on St. Louis's jerseys. Listen, on TV and in person, it had this like weird feeling that it felt like you were watching the game through like a 1970s TV screen. And I loved the Hawks red Winter Classics will go down as the best. It's going to be a shame that people are going to look at those things and remember that they got dog walked, as Connor Bedard would say, 6-2, because those things are a thing of beauty. And it was a dream come true to cover it from a professional standpoint. I got this to keep forever, which is really, really cool, my credential. And it's got this awesome lanyard that has the Blackhawks and the Blues. I mean, just an incredible day all around. Got to meet the Stanley Cup, which was like absolutely insane. But, overall, great experience, poor outcome, though. And the Hossa thing just drives me crazy.
Yeah, that is kind of wild.
Speaking of NHL players driving people on this podcast crazy, Frank, in early November, Mr. Alexander Ovechkin led the NHL with 15 goals in his first 18 games played. And then I believe it was Jake Bean, which it's very funny that a guy named Bean is the one who did this, injured Alexander Ovechkin. He broke his leg. He missed 40 days, which occupied 14 games worth of time for the grade 8. And he comes back from injury a couple days ago. And you wonder, even I wonder, is it going to take him a minute to get his footing underneath him? Is he going to get back to scoring goals at the rate that he was before his injury? Because basically since January 1st of last year, I actually think he leads the NHL in goals in 2024. The calendar year. I know Matthews at 70. He did a lot of his damage before the new year last year. I don't even think Matthews was top 3. He comes back in 4 games played since returning. He has 3 goals, and he is now 20. Excuse me, I have it right here. Alexander Ovechkin is now 23 goals away from tying the record held by Wayne Gretzky and 24 more to break it. He basically, for the final 2 years of his contract, would need to, if he were to stop right now for the rest of the season, he would need 10-14 or 15-10, 15-9. He could basically be like a low-end bottom pair or bottom line contributor for the rest of his contract, and he would still break the record. Your chances, I'm not even asking you. You're done. You're toast. We're to the point where like I have multiple people that we know and love texting me every single time Ovi scores, and you get brought up at least half the time, not by me, particularly our good buddy Dylan. Every time this man scores, it becomes like this thing where like I'm getting text messages and tweets and oh my God, 871 for Alexander Ovechkin. Like I said, you're done. I honestly think like you're lying now. Like that much is clear to me. But like this guy's gonna get 1,000 goals. I wholeheartedly think he plays till he's 42, like Yager, and has 1,000, and rides into the sunset, knowing that Matthews would really have to go on like a run to break his goal record, because Matthews is on pace to break Gretzky's record. But Matthews doesn't have the health that Ovechkin did and does. This little injury to his leg was like kind of an anomaly in his career. But yeah, now you could talk about it. Alexander, the great 8.
He's come out hot. Just as he was before he got injured, to be honest with you. And, part of the thing was you never know how someone's going to respond to an injury, especially when you're later in your career and are not used to being injured for prolonged periods of time. It was interesting that Gretzky said once he gets within 4 of his record, he wants to follow Ovechkin around every game just so he could be there in person when and if he breaks it. But, yeah, I mean, he's not doing it, but listen, you can laugh all you want.
What a moron.
You can laugh all you want.
Stop putting it out there. Just put it out there. He's not doing it. Frank, he might do it this year. And he's on pace to do it late February. Which, if he does it in late February, he'll like have exceeded my expectations. Because I said last 3 games this year, or like early next year was what I said like over the summer. I remember. I mean, I didn't think he'd have 18 goals in 22 games played. I mean, that is just, he's a legend. And it's like when you were the same person with Pujols. With reaching the 700 home runs I think he was trying to get, and I'm like, Frank, there's just something about these like super high end like athletes that have this competitive drive that like in order to make it to the NHL, not only do you have to be supremely skilled, you have to want it more than everyone, and like there's just a certain competitive drive that like I don't think everyone in the world has. I think I have it when it comes to like doing content and like covering the NHL and like being around hockey. But like I'm tubby, I'm short, I can't play the game worth shit anymore. I wasn't even that good at skating when I was skating regularly, and my feet were on fire every time I skated. But like this guy, he's just so motivated and he's obsessed with it. And he has my respect. Seeing Ovechkin doing what he's doing and Crosby breaking Mario Lemieux's assist record, for the Penguins all-time leader in assists, it's just incredible to me, and I'm happy to be alive at the same time as these guys. We need one more win. This is my opinion. I want one more Winter Classic. Capitals, Penguins. Let me say goodbye to Crosby and Ovechkin properly. I think it would be perfect if they did it. They've done it in Pittsburgh almost every time when they played each other. Give me like Camden Yards, where the Baltimore Orioles play. Make the Capitals the home team. Camden Yards with that big, beautiful background that they have. I want Crosby versus Ovechkin. Let me say goodbye to them both on the national stage properly. It's going to be a sad day for your boy when both of them are gone, because I don't think I love hockey quite as much as I do without them. And it's been a treat. I'm super stoked. We're going to see how much of a coward you are when he does start getting within 1 or 2 of these things. And if you come over when I invite you, because I want to be in your presence when this happens, whether it is at the end of this year, the middle of this year, early next year, We'll see how much of a coward you are. I'm excited about it, though. It's going to be great. It's going to be, and I really hope that when he ties it and he ultimately needs one more, you allow yourself to enjoy a legend doing something that is just so great for the. I can see it now, like when it does happen, if it does happen, wink, wink. It's going to be an all-time hockey moment. Hockey will be the number one story in all of sports for at least a week, and that's a huge win for hockey. Alexander Ovechkin, and hey, one thing I was really wrong about, I thought the Capitals would be like just feeding this guy, trying to break him the record while they try to like not be in last place in the Metropolitan Division. This is a good team that is not a fraud. There's nothing last year. I thought they were frauds. Even they made the playoffs, but they were clearly frauds because they had this negative goal differential, and the underlying stats were terrible. And everyone but Ovechkin kind of wasn't playing all that well. No, that is not the case this year. All of their forwards, they get rid of Laviolette. All of a sudden, Connor McMichael is like this superstar. John Carlson is healthy. What's the guy on defense? That's like only behind Cale Makar and Quinn Hughes in goals. I'm drawing a blank on his name right now. How dare me? But like he's been amazing. Pierre-Luc Dubois looks rejuvenated and he's playing well. I mean, the Capitals are legit, and Ovechkin scoring all these goals doesn't feel like just a sideshow for the Capitals. Like it's
they're the real team, dude.
Yeah,
they're really good.
100%. Frank, one thing I wanted to touch on as I never sent it to period one, did I? Did I send it to period one? Oh, I did. Okay. To end period one, are you privy to all the Vancouver drama that's going on right now?
Yeah, I know that there's beef between Miller and Elias Pettersson, but I don't know why. Like
nobody does. Nobody does. Nobody does. Yeah, they can't stand each other. They can't stand each other. I don't know
why. It doesn't make sense.
But Elias Pettersson had like 11 points in the 9 games that Miller was out, and then Miller came back and he had no points in the first 6. Like they just can't coincide. They can't coexist. And they tried to work through it. Apparently, from what I've heard, Talkett, the head coach, and Quinn Hughes, the captain, are just so tired of it. They're tired of answering questions about it. They're tired of dealing with it. I don't know if this guy was with the other guy's wife or something. I don't know what it is. There's something that makes these two guys, who really until they got to Vancouver had nothing to do with each other in common. One's from Sweden, one's from the U.S., played for the Rangers, Lightning, all that. You remember for JT Miller. But like, it's just the most bizarre storyline in the NHL, and I wanted to see if you had an opinion on it.
Well, it's definitely made the team worse. They're 3-3-4 in their last 10 games. So I'm assuming that the drama that's taking place in the locker room is leading to much poorer play from the Canucks lately. Lankinen's fell off a cliff, really, in his past few games.
Yeah, until yesterday.
But like before that, he was really not the same. And I wonder if that has to do with some of the stuff coming from the locker room. I mean, we don't know what these guys hear or what goes through their head. You can't coexist. Grow up. You guys are making millions and millions of dollars. Grow up. What can't you coexist? Because he's got more points than you. He comes back, he stinks. I mean, it doesn't make sense. I really, really would love to know the true reason why they don't like each other. Something must have happened, like you said. But yeah, it's just, to me, it's silly. It really is silly. You don't have to like the guy, but respect him from a business standpoint. This is your job. Right? We were always told that, like in the work world, like you don't have to like who you work with, but you got to respect them and you deal with it. You're not a child about it. I don't know. Hopefully it gets resolved because this team's a good team, but with all this drama, they've been mid. I got to be honest with you.
They've been mid, and nobody sees them as a cup contender from the West right now. Playoff team, sure. The West. It could go a lot of ways with the wild card, but like I don't see St. Louis passing them or like Seattle or anything like that. But there's too much talent on Vancouver to not at least be able to win enough games to make it to the playoffs. But I don't feel about them how I felt about them at this time last year.
No,
at this time, and they kind of lived up to it in the playoffs. There, Frank, they beat Nashville, who went into the playoffs like red hot. They took Edmonton to the brink. I really kind of thought Vancouver might win Game 7. And Edmonton prevailed. They end up going to the Cup. So, like, it showed how good Vancouver was. Like, if they won that Game 7 against Edmonton, they absolutely could have beaten Dallas in the conference finals. It was that was just a wagon of a team. And this year, like you said, they're mid. So, one of them is going to be traded. I would be shocked if both of them are still on the roster.
It'll probably be Miller. It'll probably be
Miller. Is that the right decision, though?
I think so. I think Pettersson's ceiling's a little bit higher.
He's younger, which plays
that's
major dividends too.
Yeah, it'll be Miller.
JT Miller doesn't go as dry for as long as Pettersson, though. That's the thing that scares me about Pettersson. He goes dry. He'll go like
the youth.
Yeah, 100%. And he makes 11 mil. It's a hard contract to move. Not that JT Miller, I think, makes 9. It's not like it's much easier on his end, but someone would take either of them. Elias Pettersson just screams New York Ranger at me. Like,
that'd be kind of ironic, right?
It would be ironic.
Played for the Rangers, and now Pettersson goes to the
Rangers. And the Rangers love guys who are like superstar big names that like go cold when it matters most. He's just the perfect New York Ranger. Frank, let's move on. We're going to discuss the World Junior Championships in period number 2. Okay, Frank, we have in the World Junior Championships the Final Four, the semifinals. Tomorrow, the great rivalry, probably my second or third favorite rivalry in international hockey competition between Sweden and Finland. And then the nightcap will be Team USA, the United States of America, taking on Czechia. Czechia got there by upsetting Team Canada in the semifinals, if you could really call it an upset, because 2 years ago, the Connor Bedard year, if it wasn't for Connor Bedard making a brilliant pass to Dylan Guenther in overtime, the Czechs had a chance to beat Canada there. Canada won, like I said, Guenther from Bedard. But then last year in the semifinals, Czechia beat Canada. They got their revenge. And then this year, Czechia beat Canada, got more revenge. And so I'm asking you, what are your thoughts on the Final Four? What happened to Canada? What do you got for me on where we are right now?
All right. So the Final Four, the USA, powerhouse. They're a wagon. Leonard, Higgins, Perot, Zeev Buem, Oliver Moore. Team's elite. They're built head to toe with NHL talent. They don't lack chemistry at all. They're a powerhouse to watch, right? And then you got Sweden. Just like the United States, really. They are that team that could cause the upset and win gold. But they're just not as stacked as the United States team. I mean, they got great players. Axel Sandin Pellikka, Sweden's captain. He's been a huge part of the team, especially, with getting those guys going on the ice and off the ice, rallying them when he needs to. They've been great. They've been fun to watch too. And then you got Finland and Czechia, who to me, they're kind of right around the same. Finland's better in my opinion, but they got some good names, players from like the Red Wings and the Islanders. At least I know Finland does. And they're fun to watch. So as a whole, kind of gave you a power ranking there without trying to give you a power ranking. Now with Canada's lost to Czechia in the quarterfinals. It's the first time ever Canada has lost in the quarterfinals 2 years in a row. That's never happened before. You mentioned it. They lost last year to Czechia as well. Eerily similar, if you remember, to last year, when Czechia also scored in the last minute to eliminate Canada. The odds of that happening, to me, that's just crazy. That is just absolutely crazy. Almost a mirror image of what happened last year. And I think what the reason Canada just wasn't Canada, or the Team Canada that we're used to, first of all, they struggled to score, and that was through the entire tournament. And that was the case in this game as well. They were down 3-1 through the first 2 periods. And it wasn't until then, the third period, where Canada started to look like Team Canada again. They tied up 3-3. They outshot Czechia 16-4 in the third period. It's like they turned on a switch that wasn't turned on for most of the tournament, and they started looking like Team Canada. Like I said, they outshot them 16-4. You think, well, Canada's got this in the bag. They look like the better team. They're going to win this game. Also, they had a slow start. They were down 1-0 less than a minute into the game and never saw a lead at any point. They were chasing the entire game. And, this isn't always the hardest thing to overcome for elite teams. But for a team that has been lacking so much chemistry and confidence, as of late, that was trouble. And then there was a controversial call. I don't know how you feel about it, but the Andrew Gibson penalty for knee. Lots of controversy on this call. To me, honestly, it really didn't look like a penalty to me. But the international hockey rules are a bit different. And at the end of the day, that call cost Canada the game. I don't know if I make that call with the 2 minutes and whatever left in the game. I don't know. I'm not the referee. I don't officiate international hockey games a lot, but I don't like the call. But their ultimate downfall, lack of discipline, lack of scoring. They were constantly being outplayed on special teams more often than not. They just didn't look like the Team Canada stereotype that is put out there. And they lose 2 years in a row to Czechia. I'm interested. I want to know your take on that call, VP, because I don't think it should have been a penalty.
I thought there were 2 kneeing calls on Canada that were BS. I thought the one in the first period too was terrible, like just a terrible call. Not a fan in any way, shape, or form. There should be something like when I think of hockey, I think of guys being tough and like not really letting anyone know about their injuries. And lately, it seems like it's becoming a thing where like guys are just not proud to like not be hurt or like pretend they're not hurt. It just doesn't feel very hockey, and I don't like it. So yeah, I hated that. Thought they were terrible calls, and I do really think that Team Canada, they're dumb. They're just dumb. Now we in the U.S. we have Hagens, who's draft eligible right now. Ryan Leonard chose to go back to college. Gabe Perreault chose to go back to college. Oliver Moore chose to go back to college. Zeev Buium chose to go back to college. Canada doesn't have that luxury. Celebrini and Bedard are both in the NHL. If they were in that tournament, they would win with pretty easy. Like a lot of their top guys go to the NHL. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
I still don't think with that fact that Canada themselves put their best foot forward with a chance to win. They left off Andrew Cristall, who was drafted 40th overall in 2023 by the Washington Capitals. They left off Michael Misa, who's a top 5 eligible prospect for the 2025 NHL draft. He leads the CHL in goals and points. And he only sits behind Cristall, the other guy I mentioned that was left off in points per game. Quinton Musty, who we've had a lot of conversations with our good pal Tom about. He was a big fan of Quinton Musty going into the draft. Obviously, the San Jose Sharks used the draft pick that they got from the New Jersey Devils in the Timo Meier trade to draft Quinton Musty. Dominic Bendinka. No, that's the Czech snub. Excuse me. Where are the Canada guys? Blah, blah, blah. Oh, Nick Lardis, the Blackhawks prospect.
Yeah.
He like leads the OHL in goals.
Nick Lardis, yeah.
They left Beckett Seneke off, who was the 3rd overall pick in the draft. They left off Tija Ginla, who I think might be hurt, but he wasn't making it anyway. Who was drafted at 6th overall by the Utah Hockey Club.
There's a lot of talent they left off.
It's almost like they're trying to build the team the way that the United States used to try and build their team. Like, we're going to forecheck and we're going to play a strong team game. You know, basically try to build their team the way Finland and Sweden do because they don't have enough talent to compete, and Finland and Sweden are elite at it. Canada, you could bring just better players to the tournament and beat everybody. Like, I don't get why they don't do that, and they got the fate they deserved as far as I'm concerned. They left off, besides Celebrini and Bedard being in the NHL, leading their NHL teams in scoring, they're never going back to the World Juniors. Besides that being an issue for Canada, I don't think they put their best foot forward, and they got the result they deserved, in my opinion.
Yeah, they didn't deserve to win that game.
No, it would be like if Team USA left off Perreault or Hagens, for no reason.
Yeah, right. They played one good period. That was it.
And it was the 3rd period that they blew the chance to win it.
And you assume they would have won the game the way it was going. All momentum was on their side. But that penalty, that's tough. That's a tough penalty to lose on, man.
I sat next to a friend of the program, Tab, at the Winter Classic. I haven't gotten to sit next to Tab one time at the United Center. He sits on the opposite side of the same row as me, but like it's 20 people away. I sat right next to him at the Winter Classic. So we talked a fair amount. He's a Porter Martone guy. If the Blackhawks win the draft lottery, he's going to ring the bell for them to take Porter Martone first overall. And he believes him and Higgins have the same offensive ceiling, but Higgins is like small and like more of a finesse player, where Martone is more of a Brady Tkachuk type, like physical power forward. And I don't think there's a wrong answer. Higgins is not like this generational play. I think I might take him number 1 overall. I don't know yet. I'm still kind of deciding. But it's not like a landslide like Bedard or Celebrini or even Jack Hughes. It's more like a Nico Hischier thing, where like we think they're all going to be good, but like how good? What's the ceiling? Thankfully, Hischier turned into a star, but there was some question. There's a little bit. Higgins, he's a really, 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 really good prospect. But here's the other thing Canada has is Gavin McKenna, Connor Bedard's cousin by marriage. It's crazy that these guys are gone because the team couldn't surround them with the best possible talent. It's just nuts to me. But Frank, what do you got? You got the Final Four: Czechia, United States, Sweden, and Finland. Predict the top 3 medalists.
I think USA wins gold. They're like I said, they're just a wagon. I do think there's a chance for the upset for Sweden, which is why I think they get the silver. And I think Czechia's big win over Canada is it's not going to be what everybody thinks. I don't even think they get a medal, so I'm going Finland with the bronze.
Something you said, listen, I think Team USA has the best team on paper, and they won last year. And really all they did, they don't have Gauthier anymore, which is like a big difference from last year. And they don't have Will Smith, but the way that Higgins, this is at Boston College and on Team USA, by the way, the way that Higgins kind of just slid right in Will Smith's spot, centering Perreault and Leonard, both at Boston College and on Team USA, has just been awesome to watch this year. I can't wait, especially now that, football's going to lighten up a little bit. I'm excited to like dive into college hockey even more in the second half, as I always do. It's crazy to me, and that's awesome. I have a weird feeling about Sweden.
They're good.
One of Canada or the U.S. have won the last 5 World Juniors. I got that snapping this year. I think Sweden's going to win the gold medal. The way Axel Sandin Pellikka has run the power play for Team Sweden, and having a hat trick in Game 1. Every team that played Latvia struggled against them. I really don't understand. It was like the best Latvian team of all time. And Sweden went up 3-0, looked like they were going to trash them, and then they allowed Latvia to score 2, and they hung on for the 3-2 win. But like before they got those 2 goals, I was thinking to myself, like, Latvia's giving everybody a hard time except for freaking Sweden. And then they ended up giving them a hard time anyway. So I chalked that up as Latvia has that one guy, I forget his name. He was like real good and their goalie played well. And that can happen in a short tournament like this. It happened with Switzerland in the Hischier draft. Nico was just lighting it up, and they got a hot goalie, and they made it to the quarterfinal too. Like, it's possible. And then you lose to a better, deeper team like Team USA, which the Swiss did that year. And McAvoy was on that team. Like, it was just a bunch of studs. But I think Sweden wins the gold. I think Team USA is going to take the silver. I hope I'm wrong, because in that gold medal game, if it is Sweden versus Team USA on Sunday evening, I will be watching it, super excited about it. But I got them coming in second. And then in third, I'm going to give Czechia the bronze medal in my prediction. Finland is good. Finland's real good. They just haven't been... There's not 1 or 2 guys that I've noticed as like just dominating where I think they can like take over. And I think Edward Schale, it's spelled like sail, the captain of Team Czechia, has just been unbelievable. And they have a couple other guys that it wouldn't shock me if they found a way to get that bronze medal. But again, it could go anyway. Watch Finland and Czechia end up playing each other in the final, and me and you were both just dead ass wrong.
That'd be, I feel like it's near impossible.
I mean, it probably is, but I do find it funny that
them beating the U.S. There's no way.
It'd be hard. It's very hard because like Moore is on the third line with, and the play he made yesterday, where his center changed for Higgins, and Moore found him. Higgins was coming in off the change. Moore probably would have gotten off had it not been a goal. But just winning the puck battle down low, being tenacious. I don't think he's the most like handsy guy in the world, but he's so fast and he's so smart in finding Higgins. I just thought that was great. And if he makes it to the NHL, I'm not sure he's going to be. I think Moore is going to be more like what they want to see from Lucas Reichel. Just a sound two-way bottom six forward that's fast as hell. And Reichel's fast as hell, and he's probably the second best Blackhawk at like gaining the zone. Bedard's probably the only one that's better than Reichel at that. It's just like once Reichel gains the zone,
Right.
kind of big yikes from there sometimes. But we'll see if Moore is able to kind of bring some of this to the NHL. I'm rooting for Team USA hard, though. I can't wait for tomorrow and Sunday. These are going to be some fun games. So that's it for the hockey today, Frank. We're going to talk about some foosball in period number 3. The college football playoff couldn't have picked a worse year to expand to 12 teams. I mean, I was thrilled. We got to watch more football. That's always the best. I want more.
Yeah,
football.
I love that.
I want more football. I always want more football. I want more football. I want more hockey. I want more baseball. I want it all. That's great. All 12 teams suck. And I just there are a couple of them that are like rising to the top when it matters most, and that's the Final Four that you have right now. But there wasn't those 2 or 3 teams where it's like those are the teams, and then we argue over which 3 teams deserve that final spot. I don't think Notre Dame would have made it had there been only 4 teams. Because for a 1-loss Notre Dame team to make it, there had to be like every other team had to have 1 or 2 losses as well, because they don't have the conference title game to play in as an independent. But they made it because of the 12 team, and they took advantage. They're there with Ohio State, Penn State, and Texas. So what do you make of what we've seen so far? And who do you think is going to go to the national championship?
Well,
No, don't make your national championship prediction, because we have a show the day of the semifinal. Just what do you think of where we're at right now?
Well, isn't it next Thursday?
I thought it was next Friday.
I don't know. I just asked.
I'll look it up right now.
But I didn't look it up. That's what I was told by D. But the top 4 ranked teams who all had a bye lost in the quarterfinals. Isn't that crazy? Yep. 1, 2, 3, 4 all lost in the quarterfinals. But I'm like, I look at those matchups and who were playing. I was not overly stunned by any of the top 4 losing, to be honest with you. There were no major upsets except the Arizona State almost knocking off Texas in double overtime. That would have been a huge upset. Talk about a good game. That was a good game. They were down 16. They scored twice and got the 2-point conversion twice to tie that up and send it to overtime. And the kicker for Texas, I mean, he's just mush. He stinks. Ohio State, in my opinion, is the best team left, and it's really not that close. They got the best defense left. It's suffocating. Really proved that against the Ducks. Did you look it up? Is it Friday or Saturday? Or is it Thursday or Friday?
The Orange Bowl between Notre Dame and Penn State is Thursday, January 9th, and the Cotton Bowl between Ohio State and Texas is Friday. So I assumed that because Ohio State played on Friday that they both did, but that is incorrect. They play on back-to-back days, Thursday and Friday.
So do you want to give a prediction or no?
Yeah, we could give predictions for both.
Okay.
And we could re-predict Texas, Ohio State next week too, but
I want to say Notre Dame beats Penn State. I really do, based off what I saw. But here's the thing. Leonard, he's not a national championship style quarterback. Their defense is outstanding. I think that's what's going to hold Penn State down a little bit. I rather Drew Aller than Ryan Leonard, to be honest with you. But you got to look at the way they played yesterday. They had 1 offensive touchdown, and that was because the ball was gifted to them inside the 15-yard line. Could they move the ball against Penn State? Probably. I think Georgia's got a way better defense than Penn State, so I think Notre Dame can move the ball a little bit better. So I'm going to give the nod for right now. Actually, that game will be over before our show, but I'll say Notre Dame beats Penn State, and I think Ohio State beats Texas. I know you're not a big Quinn Ewers guy. You made that clear the last time we talked. There's really not, from what I've seen from him, there's nothing special from Texas, to be honest with you. It's not moving the needle for me. I think Ohio State should run all over Texas, to be honest with you. So I'm going to go Ohio State, Notre Dame in the national championship.
Very good. Frank, I agree. I think it's Ohio State versus Notre Dame in the national championship as well. And, we could predict the national championship on the following show because then it's the 20th, I believe, that
Yeah,
is the
it
national
is.
championship. It's a Monday. National championship's always on a Monday. So really, really exciting. I think it's going to be, I hope it's two good games. I really do. But at this rate, it wouldn't shock me if Ohio State blows out Texas. Like, really. So we'll see how it goes. I don't think any of the teams are like just flat out better than anyone, though. I think it's just a matter of the time of year, the health. We'll see how it goes, but that's my national championship as of right now. The rematch from last year's regular season game early in the year, that was a really, really good football game. It was one of the best college football games of last season, was Notre Dame versus Ohio State. That was the game where Notre Dame had to make a defensive stop and they only had 10 guys on the field.
Mhm.
Like, that
Yeah,
was crazy. So they would be looking for some revenge. This might be Notre Dame's best shot to win it in our lifetime.
could be.
So we'll see if they're able to get it done really quick. NFL, you got the couple wild card things getting wrapped up. The Broncos have the best chance. All they need to do is win to wrap up that last spot in the AFC. The Bengals and the Dolphins each have an outside chance. They need things to go well for the other two. The hardest path is the Bengals. They need Denver and Miami to lose and them to win. Miami just needs Denver to lose and them to win. They don't care what the Bengals do. And the Broncos just need to win and in. The AFC South, NFC South, if the Buccaneers win, they win the division and make it to the playoffs, and the Falcons are eliminated. If the Buccaneers lose, then the Falcons win. Then the Falcons win the division and get a home playoff game. And then the
Yep.
Lions is the Vikings for the winner of the NFC North and the number one seed in the NFC. What do you think happens out of all those things, really quick, before we jump into breaking bets?
Well, I think Denver's got the best chance to make it with the Mahomes-less Chiefs team, and nobody's going to really be playing. Denver's like 10.5-point favorites against the Chiefs. Nobody's playing for the Chiefs. So, and it's a big game for Denver. I like the way they've been playing. I think they could. I think the game might be closer. I don't know if they'll cover 10.5. I mean, I think some of these second strings for the Chiefs are no joke, but I do think the Broncos do pick up the victory and make the playoffs. I think the Bucks are going to make the playoffs as well. Atlanta should beat the Panthers in the noon game, but Bucks. Who are they play again? The Bucks, the
Is it the
Saints. They're home
Saints?
against the Saints. Yeah, I think they should whomp them at home. But obviously, you have the Falcons taking care of business first. That was obviously from the schedule makers. They do that on purpose. But I think the Bucks are going to make it as well. And then who was and then the Lions and the Vikings. I think the Lions are going to win the division. I really do think so. I think they're going to clinch the bye. There's also another situation about the Ravens and Steelers. Who wins that division? The Ravens beat the Browns. These are Saturday night games. They'll win the division. However, if they lose and the Steelers win, the Ravens become the 5th seed and the Steelers win the division. But I think the Ravens are going to win that division as well. They're not going to lose to the Browns at home, I wouldn't think. But then again, I get flashbacks to the Colts losing, or the Colts beating the Jaguars as double-digit underdogs, so the Steelers could get into the playoffs. And Big Ben's last year, that was crazy. So I guess anything's possible, right? But we'll see. I do think the Ravens will pull it out, though.
I got the Ravens narrowly squeaking out the AFC North. I think the Dolphins and the Broncos are going to lose, and the
That
Bengals are
would
going
be
to be the
crazy.
team with a 1% chance to make the playoffs gets in.
That'd be.
I
I
don't like
could
the
see that
Broncos against the Chiefs. I don't. Even though Mahomes isn't playing, I see the Chiefs
Yeah,
guys
their
playing hard to
backups
keep,
are good.
and they're going to work hard to keep their division rival out of the playoffs.
I think 10.5 is a joke.
And this is the third straight week where it's been a win and clinch situation for Denver. They squandered the first two. It wouldn't shock me if they squander this last one. And then the Dolphins are like the bad luck team in the NFL this season. And then the Bengals have Joe Burrow. I don't know. That's just where my heart is leaning. Obviously, the best chance is the Broncos, but for fun, I'm saying the Bengals. I think the Bucks are going to take care of business and win the NFC South. And I think the Vikings are going to win the NFC North. I really do.
Wow.
I'm tired. Everybody in the NFC is frauds right now because Detroit is so injured. If Detroit wasn't so injured and missing like 13 guys on defense, I'd be saying they're the real threat and everybody else is frauds. But because I think Nick Sirianni's a boob, the Eagles are frauds. The Lions have become frauds because of injury. The Rams are a threat right now going into the playoffs. I wouldn't want to play them in the playoffs. It wouldn't shock me at all if they got to the Super Bowl from the NFC. And then the Vikings. Why? Because Sam Darnold was bad on the Jets? Everyone's bad on the Jets. I'm just supposed to assume there's no fraudulentness to the Vikings other than the fact that Sam Darnold is finally having his first good year in the NFL, and he's finally away from the two teams he's played for are the freaking Panthers and Jets. Like, if I'm Mitch Trubisky, I'm pissed I didn't find my way into the same situation as Sam Darnold did because he was just with the crap Bears team. Like, sometimes Sam Darnold was the 4th overall pick in the draft, and he went ahead of Josh Allen. Well, I'm not saying that was a smart decision, but the Jets are going to jet, and they didn't develop him properly. The Vikings have. I got the Vikings beating the Lions for the division. It could be close, though. I do think the Lions are real good. But if the Vikings make it to the Super, I no longer call the Vikings frauds. They're not okay. Maybe they are. They're not more fraudulent than any other team in the NFC. I think there's a good chance whoever makes it to the Super Bowl from the NFC gets pummeled by either the Chiefs, Bills, Ravens, or that's really it. So yeah, that's what I got. Yeah. I do think those are the teams. Go ahead.
Who are the Bills going to open up against? Because they got the 2nd seed locked up. So would that they'll play whoever they're the 2nd seed. They get a home game.
The Chiefs got to bye. They're going to host the Broncos if they win, or the Bengals or the Dolphins. Whichever of those 3 teams makes it. That's who they'll have in the first round.
I think they'd want the Dolphins.
Yeah, I do too. If I'm the Bills, I'm rooting for the Dolphins to be the team that gets in out of those 3. Although the Broncos would be real fragile coming in on the streak that they've been on. Actually, if you're the Bills, you want all 3 of them to lose, and the Broncos just make it by default. So then they come into the playoffs on a 3-game losing streak. That's what you want if you're the Bills. But
I love that team so much.
That's highly unlikely. All right, Frank. It's time for America's favorite podcast segment of the week, Breaking Bets.
Where's my money, bitch?
Where's my money, bitch? Frank, the floor is yours.
Yep. Let me get these graphics up. All right. 3 more picks for you. Had a week off last week. Back at it again. Starting off in the NHL, the Chicago Blackhawks play tonight. Colton Dach will be making his debut in the NHL against his brother Kirby Dach. The Montreal Canadiens at the Blackhawks. I like the first period under 1.5 at plus 105 for 2 units. Montreal has been playing some great hockey as of late. They have won 4 out of their last 5 games. Their 3 most recent games they've won have come on the road against Florida, Tampa Bay, and Vegas, 3 massive powerhouses in the NHL. This team hasn't been giving up a ton of goals either, and the Hawks struggle to score as it is. Arvid Soderblom should be in net for the Blackhawks. He's been sensational this year. He will do well to limit the Canadiens' offense, at least early on. I don't expect a lot of goals in this one, especially right out of the gate. So the first period in the Canadiens-Hawks game, under 1.5 at plus 105 for 2 units. Little college basketball action tonight. Also, there's actually a great slate of games tonight on a Friday night. Xavier at Georgetown. Going to go with Georgetown money line at minus 122, bet to win 3 units. Georgetown is having a really good year, and are they playing a little bit better than expected? Yes, they are. However, they've been really good all year, and they come into this game 9-1 at home. Xavier has had a good team, and are always one of those teams, that pop up around March during March Madness. Their name's always in the hat. But Georgetown at home in a conference matchup at nearly a pick'em, you got to gobble that one up. Georgetown recently beat Creighton at home, who are arguably a lot better than Xavier, and Georgetown beat Creighton by 24 points. They've been dominant at home. They also went into Syracuse before that and beat them as favorable underdogs. This team's no joke so far this year, and I can't help take them at home against Xavier. Georgetown money line minus 122, bet to win 3 units, which brings me to the last game of the regular season in the NFL. We got the Minnesota Vikings and the Detroit Lions. VP likes the Minnesota Vikings. I'm going with the Detroit Lions money line minus 148, bet to win 10 units. There's not a better way, in my opinion, to end the 2024-25 regular NFL season than having the NFC North up for grabs and the winner of the NFC as a whole, as the winner will get a bye going into the playoffs and have the 1 seed. Vikings continue to prove all the doubters wrong, right? But the Lions, they're no joke. Even with their injuries, they find ways to win. They are one of the 2 Vikings losses this season. Detroit was able to go into Minnesota and get a victory earlier in the year. Lions at home with so much on the line just feels like they are going to get it done. They deserve to get it done. Dan Campbell is one of the best coaches in the NFL. And with so much riding on this game, it is hard to see the Vikings coming into Detroit and winning the NFC after they were picked to come in last in the division. I think Lions get it done at home. Detroit Lions money line at minus 148, bet to win 10 units. Those are my 3 picks for you this week. And best of luck to all.
Best of luck to all is correct. Frank, you brought up some of the Blackhawks Nuggets. I have it for you. Arvid Soderblom will start.
Yep.
Colton Dock will make his NHL debut in place of Lucas Reichel, which is a BS way to get Doc.
I'm excited.
Bad way to get Doc in the lineup. Bad way to get Doc in the lineup, though. You got to get out one of the veterans that play like crap. Connor Murphy is out with a groin injury. Wyatt Kaiser draws in to play with Seth Jones in his place. So that's the Chicago Blackhawks. If you're at the United Center tonight against Les Canadiens de Montreal, come say hello to me. I don't know what that means. I was trying to figure it out. I have no idea. There must be a guy that is very handsome in the BK.
No,
looks like me.
It's hard to explain, really.
Well, do it real quick.
I'll try my best, but when you say it's time for America's podcast segment of the week, it's like when the new Burger King commercial when he goes, BK Mel.
Oh, BK Mel.
When you say America's favorite podcast segment of the week, it makes
of
them think
the week. You know, Tony Mueller is actually the inspiration for the way I introduced Breaking Bets. Yeah. From the way we used to go like chicken wing. I brought it to the show. I was like, America's favorite podcast segment of the week.
So now when we see Burger
That's
King,
where that comes from. But yeah, the Burger King commercial. Junior bacon chicken, or what was it? Something meh.
It's just
I know.
It just says melt.
Melt at BK. Have it your way. You rule.
Not a sponsor.
Not a sponsor with no free ads. Don't eat at Burger King unless they pay me to tell you so. Frank, great show. Very fun. If you're at the United Center tonight against Les Canadiens de Montreal, the Bleu, Blanc, and Rouge, say hello. I will be there. Very excited. Yeah, very, very excited. Got a lot of good hockey this weekend. A lot of good football. And, you know, maybe a lot of hawk. Super stoked. Go Devils, go Blackhawks, go Bruins, go whoever it is you're rooting for this weekend. Frank, you got anything else left to say?
Go Hawks. Pound those Canadians.
Go Hawks from Frank, from, you know, pounding those Canadians, he says, who have been real hot lately.
They've been sizzling. I just read their 3 most recent wins. Florida,
and
Tampa Bay, and Vegas all on the road.
And against Vegas, they were down 2-0, and then Kirby Dach scored the game winner in the third period, and he was the first star of the game, heading into play his brother, making his NHL debut.
Playing good.
I hope I get to meet Colton tonight.
This would be the game they fall on their face, though, right? They've been hot, and then they have a letdown against the Hawks.
100%, and Hawks can't lose every game the rest of the season, so we'll see how it goes. For Frankie Mueller at the King Bean on Twitter, I'm Vinny Parisi at Vinny Parisi on Twitter, and as always, thank you for listening to our show. Have it your way. Adios.